Welcome back to the episode. Coming to you all. It's the 23rd of April, right in the middle of games one and two. We got three and four on the other side. Game three being in Detroit on Thursday, and then game four on Sunday in Detroit as well. Always like to remind y'all, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm greatly appreciate it. Yeah, we'll start the call today or the episode today by just touching on um, games one and two, what we thought, watching them games, and yeah, kind of kick things off. I'll let you dive right into what you liked and what you kind of saw. Our first playoff matchup in about 7 8 years, and the first playoff game for about I'd say about three-fourths of our team overall as well.
Right. Yeah. No, so that game one, what was that? Saturday night. First and foremost, it's great to see the Pistons back in the playoffs. Great to see them playing meaningful basketball in the mecca of Madison Square Garden. So all of that was there. I think overall, a very solid game. We were the better team in that game for 85% of that whole game. It really came down to like a 6 minute stretch where the wheels fell off. We couldn't buy a basket if our life depended on it. We looked a little flustered. The young boys kind of just shied away. Some of our vets didn't step up like we thought they could or should in those moments, just to kind of put a plug in that 21-0 run that ended up turning into. If you kind of minimize that and eat into it a little bit, you kind of maintain some of that effort. But overall, what I was able to see is we are by far the deeper team. I think across their starting lineups, they probably have a better overall starting lineup than us, but we have a better 8 9 guy rotation. And as this progresses, I think that's gonna something we can lean into. So that game one, bit of a heartbreaker. I know we were joking and texting beforehand about how, hey, this is all gravy on top.
Yeah,
I'm playing with house money, and as soon as we kind of started fumbling again, it just kind of gave me
it's got pissed.
a burning fire. So to have that to say, we came back strong in game two, but I guess kind of what was your thoughts on game one? Even seeing our boys back in the playoffs for the first time since 2019.
Yeah, no, I had similar thoughts. It's like how the team responded. Even though like obviously it was kind of gonna be like all eyes on Cade, for us, kind of seeing how he responded. He didn't shoot the ball very well, but I love how he rebounded, still had like 12 assists. So he was making the correct plays, when whether they're blitzing them, doubling them, whatever that kind of looked like. I mean, they've pretty much taken out the lob threat altogether. So, which was like, him and Duran's bread and butter. So I do like how he responded and just being able to kind of take what was being given to him. But yeah, so you hit it right on the head, man. I mean, I think the tough thing about game one was that you had these like legendary like role player performances. Like I think Tobias, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Malik Beasley, they all combined for almost like 60 points, give or take.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Had about, 10, I think Tobias had like 22 in the first half. I think they combined from about, 10 to 12 threes, I think, like overall. Um, but then on the flip side of that, you come into game two. I think Beasley and Hardaway went like 2 of 17 from three. We still found a way to win that game. It's really kind of like, yeah, the tale of two games where I wouldn't even say that. I mean, I feel like we've been playing at a high level across the first two games of the playoffs, but we just had that one little lapse, like the start of the fourth quarter, where like they just kind of turned it on and we just couldn't really stop the avalanche. But overall, just very impressed, proud, of how they've played. Dennis Schroeder's been a godsend. You wouldn't even have thought that he was like, on his third team this season, picked up in February. I mean,
Right.
we're literally trusting him as like the point guard to close out halves, close out games. He's hitting some big threes. He's playing phenomenal defense on Jalen Brunson. Him and Asar is kind of taking turns, like chasing him around. So yeah, I think, like I said, I know our mindset coming onto this was just, icing on the cake. Like a lot of this is, whatever happens. I mean, we're still just kind of happy to be where we're at. But I mean, we already talked about us being able to beat them, and it's looking like more and more of a reality that it's something we can actually pull off as we get later into this series now.
Right. No, no, I second a lot of that. So game two, I would say, or I said game one we were better than them for minus that 5 6 minute stretch.
Mhm.
Game two, we got out the gate. I and really controlled the effort. Cade came out on fire. I think he had 20 in the first half. Tobias Harris, I snuck and look at or went back and looked at the box score, and he snuck and played like 48 minutes or 43 minutes. I mean,
Yeah,
he was out there a lot.
Garden Cat.
Right, Garden Cat. Yeah, and that's my next key point of I like the lineup where Schroeder's at kind of the primary ball handler, Cade, Beasley, Tobias Harris, Duran. I think
Hmm.
that's kind of the good vibe recipe. And I like when that unit's out there. And kind of you can kind of play the hot hand with you know between the couple of shooters out there, whoever's the hot hand. But Tobias Harris wanting to step up and play defense, I think that is good. He's where it works is he's nimble enough to get out there out there on the perimeter with him. It also is not taking, let's say, Duran out of the paint like it was in game one, where Duran is way out there trying to guard him or kind of in no man's
Yeah,
land, and we're missing a lot of rebounds. We all rebounded them
like
various
15, I
times.
think.
Yeah, so you look at Tobias Harris had like 13 rebounds, Cade had 12 rebounds. It, minus how bad we shoot. If you're getting 25 rebounds from them two guys,
Yeah,
and on top of Duran getting you another 10 or so, that I mean you've already ate up 70% of all the total rebounds in that in what are possible. So those are kind of the keys I'm looking for. And then you mentioned Schroeder just being kind of a gift from above, kind of coming in late. We wasn't even sure, we were kind of talking about maybe we should go get Lonzo Ball, maybe we should go like we
yeah,
watching the game, watching them play enough, we knew we needed this type of player. And he was on neither of our radars, but it was a perfect pickup and him kind of settling in let's say like around that 4 or 5 or 2, 3, 4 minute mark in the fourth quarter in game two is what I
hmm,
hoped would have happened in that first game. But he circled back around, big time jumper, and then Cade just kind of running that offense through him at the end of the game. Cade finished with what 33, 12,
yeah,
and 3. And I went back and basically watched the game again in entirety. And I counted 3, like quote unquote, hockey assists from Cade, where Cade
yeah.
swung it to Beasley swung it to Tobias Harris in the corner, hit a 3. Some combination of that. So that's all just good plays, good ball movement. And it might not show up on the stat sheet, but anybody who watched that games, Cade is quickly becoming a superstar. And it's just cool to kind of watch him get his dues and the kind of the power of having a superstar where, like you say, we just know to go get him a basket or give him the ball and he'll get us a basket. So all that saying, game three in Detroit is going to be live,
Hmm.
very hostile environment.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
Some
just want
people
to say
say they need
this.
to bring back I can't think what the old announcer like
Yeah.
the old announcements need to bring those
Countdown.
back. Yeah, the countdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
I
they
just
do
want to say
that,
this real quick. Just real quick. No, still nobody can stop Cade. I haven't seen nobody be able to stop Cade except himself. Like he was still getting to his spots game one, missing
mhm.
some shots here and there, looked a tad bit uncomfortable. But like it don't matter if you throw like we've heard about Mikal Bridges, we've heard about Anunoby,
Oh, yeah.
we've heard about Josh Hart. Like that whole Villanova Knicks thing is so stupid to me, but I digress. We like I just think it's so impressive that nobody can slow him down. He's getting to his spots whenever he wants to. He's figuring out how to even like work and manipulate double teams, to either, hit the open guy. I mean, that's still kind of like a struggle for him, but like it's just impressive just being able to kind of see him just get comfortable in like 48 hours, essentially, to be able to do what he needed to do for us to win game two as well. So I just wanted to, yeah, throw that out there.
No, I agree. And so I guess just looking forward to game three. I guess we didn't talk about this indirectly, but what would you say would be a couple of keys to locking in that game three?
Yeah.
I'm sure ESPN had dropped a stat somewhere. If you win game three, you got a
You win a certain
76%,
percentage. Yeah.
whatever. So, we all know how big of an opportunity it is, but
Real.
kind of what are your keys to victory where you know that if we do X, Y, and Z, it is definitely going to equal a win?
Yeah. And I think the role players, they got to continue to, you know, well, I'll say they got to pick up where they left off game one, first and foremost. I mean, Tobias obviously doing his thing on both sides of the ball. But I gotta imagine, Beasley and Hardaway Jr. going to combine 2 for 17 from three. Some of those are falling tomorrow.
Right.
I feel like, if we're able to just get a little bit more help from the role players and keep that floor spaced out so Cade can operate and do his thing. And then just keeping Asar, I feel like sometimes want to tape Asar's hands behind his back or something. Like I feel like he'd do better off like staying in front of him that way than because it's not even him doing anything. Brunson is grabbing him.
Yeah.
Brunson is like running his body into him and like putting pressure on the referees to like call the yeah. So like that'd be interesting to see too how they end up calling the game differently for Brunson. After you see all these clips of him literally like creating the contact and then some. But I think yeah, those three things really, or a couple of things really, is just the role players. They got to just step back up. Get like more of like a game one performance from them, and keeping Brunson at bay because at least how it looks like to me, they don't have no interest in working nobody else in on the offensive side of the ball except
Yep.
for him, and then sometimes Cat when Cat decides to do what he can actually do and not just like be out there like a
Yeah.
kitten like he
We
was.
tried to wake up from that cat nap. We tried to wake up
Yeah,
from
right. Yeah, like he
that.
was out there like
Yeah.
sleepy on Monday. So
No, no, I actually I'm a mimic a lot of those, and it's funny. Uh, so the first thing I put on there is role players slash open threes. Obviously, playing tough defense comes with regardless of what happens. So that's got to happen. But the role players, Beasley, Harris, Schroeder, you know, they need to come to play.
yeah,
And it, if we're hovering around that 14 or 12, 13, 14, 15 threes between them and Cade, we are in a great place.
yeah,
Second of all, rebound. We need to crash those boards again. We need to take Cat out of the game for easy putbacks. Take OG out of the game with easy putbacks, and just try to make it as difficult for them as possible. I think if we keep leaning on them as far as defense goes, and they're solely dependent on Brunson and not getting easy, you play great defense and then they give a bunny because we didn't get the rebound. That's demoralizing. So I think, and that falls right into my next category is Brunson or nobody. That's got to be our thing. We gotta. I don't care if Brunson goes for 45, 8-3. If the rest of the team has 45, we win that game.
yeah.
It's and that's kind of how I want to look at it. If we let Brunson go for 40 and then the whole rest of the game goes for 70, that's a bad spot for us. So I think
Mm-hmm.
we really, really make sure that we lean on that and pay pesty physical defense with him. I can tell he's already getting frustrated. He's already banged up.
Yeah.
And just continue to throw bodies at him. I think you joke about Sarr typing his hands, but he's doing about as good of a damn job as you can. Considering that he's getting what 8, 10, 12 free throws a game, half of them
Mm-hmm.
complete BS. So, you play great defense for 22 and a half seconds, and then he does some BS James Harden circa 2017
Yeah.
move. And
Grabbing arms and
yeah,
yeah, it's
so those are the three. I think if role players come to play, we all rebound them and we make Brunson beat us solely. I think we are in a prime spot. And I think like you mentioned, Cat, that's a tremendous gift and curse to them because he is so talented. But he's also, I think he wants to be talented how he wants to be talented. He wants to be
Mhm.
the new Dirk Nowitzki. He wants to be
Yeah.
a 7'3" guy or 7 foot shooting threes versus going and banging and getting easy buckets in the paint.
Mm-hmm.
I think he looks at Tobias Harris as a challenge is, well, I could beat him. I could beat him at the top of the key versus I'm going to put this guy in a blender down here in this
Like
post.
imagine if
And
if Tobias Harris is guarding Embiid in a series, like he would be
yeah,
punishing Tobias Harris.
100%. Yeah. And I don't know if he has that in him, particularly for a 7 game series.
Right, like
We know he
yeah,
can do
like
it from game to game, come in and out, but that's not who he wants to be. And he's ultimately going to revert back to hanging around that 3 point line, watching Brunson dribble, and hoping for the best.
yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, you hit it on the head. I mean, he's helping us in this situation. We should have like our like and you don't even almost don't even want to say it, so we're not putting it in the air, but I mean it almost feels like like the way that they're allowing Cat to play is like playing it in our hand. He doesn't want to be down low, so we can put a smaller defender on him. We can have Duran roam, you know, blocking shots. I think he had like 2, 3 blocks last game. So yeah, that's something that's been working in our favor. Where he also keeping him out of foul trouble. Like, I want to shout out Jalen Duren as well, Grant, because I think he got his first foul like first 2 minutes of the second half, ended with 5. But I just like the understanding that Stewart is out. Shout out Paul Reed, but Isaiah Stewart was out. He did a great job of just like keeping himself, hands on the cookie jar, essentially, and understanding like if he gets 1 or 2 fouls in that first quarter, that changes the entire game, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So yeah.
No, that's a good point. The trajectory changes. And um this is something I know as just a guy who used to love to block shots. You got to learn that it's sometimes it's better to just play solid defense and not try to go for the block, or just
Hands
just
up,
let
yeah.
go straight up. Versus you're going to get much more opportunities even being able to stay in the game versus trying to hammer some block shot right now and you're sitting on the bench the whole game. So
Right.
yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And that's just I think something a young player has to learn because it's you know I think they get lured into it. They get one maybe early
hmm
and they're like, oh shit, this is and
Yeah.
and you kind of get tricked into it. So I agree. They're playing into our bag though, as far as letting Cat do that.
Okay.
As far as in a lot of those guys, they're it's just the way Brunson is playing, they're forced to shoot the ball with 2, 3 seconds left and they're not getting a rhythm. And let's not even mention as long and deeper these games go, they're all going to be ticking at 40 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Um, and that only I said this a couple times that only plays to our benefit as we head into game 5, 6, 7.
Play a lot more players. I mean, I think like Cade, Tobias, and I think Schroeder kind of were up there in like, that 40-minute range. But, we also had like Duran or yeah, Duran. I mean, he didn't play that crazy amount of minutes, but we got guys like Paul Reed coming in. We had um Beasley coming in. We're playing about 8 to 9 deeper. They're really, really starting to shrink theirs up. And like I said, I mean, Brunson already just looks like B. I mean, just it's taking a lot for him to like he finished the game 1 with like 30 plus, but he also started the game like almost like 2 for 10. So like he's having to work for a lot of his shots, which is good. I hope we can continue to make him do that because yeah, because I mean, like I said, they're literally playing into our hand. They want to run this ISO ball with him, not let anybody else beat us. Um,
And
I think
you
we're going to
and,
continue to welcome that.
and you text me this, and they're half of them are recording a podcast in the middle of a series, and they're they doing the same thing we doing, and like they don't got
Right,
they don't
yeah.
got their livelihood and championship run on the table here. So
Yeah, and all the pressure, I mean, it is mounting over there. It is
yeah,
mounting.
and that type of stuff is going to look bad. You can do that if you're winning championships or you're on the back end. You're Draymond. You got 4 rings under your
Yeah,
belt. Yeah,
right.
you see
Everything
even
else
what
icing on the cake.
Paul
Yeah, yeah.
George did. Paul George is like, hey, this is getting too much. Let me step away until So I think that just shows a little bit where their head is mentally.
hmm
And I haven't even watched it. I'm sure it'd be some good some funniness going and watching tap in. But that's I'll be pissed if we were the higher seed with a big payroll down 1-1 versus a team that had 14 wins last year, and Cade and Duran is doing a podcast together.
Right. Yeah, live audience and everything. Got mediators asking questions. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I think we're in a great spot to be in. I mean, I don't know if we want to kind of just give out some little predictions as far as where we think the series is going to be at. Once this weekend wraps up. Um,
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah, I guess I'll jump out and say I'm feeling pretty damn solid that we'll be going back to New York 3-1.
I'm about to say the same thing. I just feel like, and I could probably be over exaggerating. I just feel like the pressure on them is like astronomical right now. You
Yeah.
cannot take that kind of pay cut, trade all them draft picks, and lose to us in the first round. You can't. You just
Yeah,
can't.
I agree. Yeah, it's too much, and I think every game is important in a 7 game series, but this game here is very important due to the fact that we
hmm
can we can't let we can kind of I think kick them either down right here. We drag
Yeah,
in Detroit. It's very hostile. We go and win. I think the pressure you can whatever the pressure is now, it's times 2 if they lose that first game.
absolutely.
That's when ESPN and
Stephen A. Smith and all
Stephen A.
them.
Smith is having a heart attack on you on there, and people start talking about the coach got to go and what's Cat doing, and I think that's when it gets that's when it magnifies from a little bit of rumblings to it's a full blown earthquake happening.
Yeah.
And that podcast looks that much worse when you try to record it on your day off. And I think that's when panic button gets hit a little bit. Um, so no, I'm feeling 3-1 back to the Garden, and then you know the sky's the limit after that.
Yeah,
Rest
see
of
what
the
happens. I mean,
season.
yeah, like I said, we 3-1. They might get that other game back at the Garden. It'd be great for us to. I mean, hell, it'd be great for us to finish them off on the road. In 5. But I think I was going to winding down. It's going to be we'll probably get like a just a Hall of Fame game from Brunson, and we'll have to, the pressure will kind of get back on us, just closing things out at home. That's what I kind of envision the series finishing out. But yeah, all in all, man, I'm just ecstatic. Like, didn't know what to expect game one. They pretty much gave them everything they could handle, had that little lapse, game two to respond the way that we did with, the role players not all playing that well. Obviously Schroeder, he played great. Tobias played great, but like our sharpshooters were not, they're not anywhere closer to what they were the game before, what they were all season. So I'm expecting a big game, loud crowd Thursday. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yes, sir. Yep. I'm looking forward to it. And then we'll tap in next week. Hopefully come back 3-1. Hopefully Lions make some good decisions here as well. I know we haven't tapped into them a lot recently, but the Pistons soaking up a lot of time. But no, I think we got some good Detroit sports on the horizon here. So,
Absolutely.
yes,
Back at
sir.
y'all next week. Peace out.